Good afternoon, fellow ruminators. Welcome back to a session, Rumination, another session, Rumination with Andrew. Thank you so much for joining as we are about to discuss a very important matter. In this explosive interview with Mr. Gerald Perreira, we're going to expose how the United States is preparing for a war against Venezuela and why the Caribbean is being militarized as a launching pad. From new military bases to political manipulation, Perreira reveals the dark truth about Washington's regional plans and how it threatens Caribbean sovereignty. So join me and Mr. Perreira as we break down the U.S. strategy, the oil and power interests driving it, and why regional leaders must wake up before it's too late. So we are going to now be joined by Mr. Perreira. So please stay tuned to Mr. Perreira as we seek to discuss this very important topical matter. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe because we were disconnected. We were on before and we had to redo this interview. So make sure that you like the interview and you share it with as many people as possible. Okay, so this is another attempt to get this interview to you. Thank you, Mr. Perreira, for joining another time.
Yeah, thank you, my brother. I don't
Yes,
know what happened. It's very,
yes, it's
yeah,
internet.
we need to understand. I think you understand.
Yes,
As we fight on this material plane, this war is being waged, this battle is being waged on the metaphysical plane.
correct, correct.
And
Now,
the enemy, the devil is busy.
busy working hard.
Yeah,
I just told them that they need to like the video and share it with as many people because it's our
yeah,
second attempt at
yeah,
producing this video. Now,
yeah,
Mr. Pereira, we have to start all over again because that video just went. Now,
yeah.
what is the likelihood that the US will carry out a military strike on Venezuela?
Well, as I said before, this is not the first time that the Trump administration has ordered what you call a military deployment off of Venezuela's territorial waters. The Trump administration did so in April 2020. During his first term in office, the US carried out a similar operation in the Caribbean Sea, but with a much more limited deployment. But on this occasion, we are seeing warships, more warships, patrol aircraft, surveillance equipment, amphibious assault groups, and all of that are being put together. B-52 bombers, and so on. So it is clear that this is the signs we're reading. This is the sign, we're reading the signs of an invasion.
Mm-hmm.
Trump said that he's in control of the sea.
Mm-hmm.
He owns the Caribbean Sea.
Mm-hmm.
He's already in control of the sea, so he has to go in on the land now to stop the drug cartels.
He
Now,
said
this
that
is not,
he,
yes,
he,
to
he said
stop the
that
drug.
He said that he has already been able to stop them on the seas, so he's now going
Yes,
to stop them on land.
yeah.
Yes.
So, you know what, you know how to read that. This is a full-fledged invasion. This is all about regime change.
Mm-hmm.
This is about regime change and taking control of Venezuela's oil and gas,
Mm-hmm.
huge oil and gas resources. You only have to listen to that surrogate, that factotum that was awarded the Peace Prize. And in passing, the Nobel Peace Prize is a joke.
Mm-hmm.
It's an absolute joke and is something that an institution that should not be taken seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But the hypocrisy of the US, which time and time again we've seen reports that they're fighting drugs, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the first time. It has
Mm-hmm.
always been used to justify their policy of intervention.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We know, for example, if you go back during the Vietnam War, it is well documented that the US Air Force provided aircraft for drug trafficking
Mm-hmm.
operations that helped finance South Vietnam and the puppet regime, the client regime at the time in South Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
In more recent years, we saw the implementation of Plan Colombia, in
Mm-hmm.
which the US and the Drug Enforcement Agency were actively involved in exporting cocaine
Mm-hmm.
from that country to North America and other parts of the world. I don't know if you can recall. I think his name was Robert McAfee. I'm not sure. But he
Yes.
was meant to be the drug czar, fighting
Mm-hmm.
the drug war. And his wife was caught going through the airport with drugs in her bag.
Mm-hmm.
And he resigned. Then we know of Oliver North,
Yes.
where even according to retired U.S. Military officers who thought they were fighting the war against drugs, one of them, Colonel Bogert, said he thought the enemy was outside of America, but he learned that the enemy was inside. They were using the proceeds from the drug trade to finance the Contras,
Mm-hmm.
to destabilize the Sandinista government.
In Nicaragua. Mm-hmm.
Yep, when they invaded Afghanistan, the poppy production escalated.
Mm-hmm.
So we know it is well established. Noam Chomsky dealt with this. Many even former intelligence officers, former CIA operatives and so have testified to this, that they have used the proceeds from drug trafficking.
And Gary Webb,
That's right.
also a very noted American journalist whose life was mysteriously taken out. He also unpacked what this drug trade was all about. Yes, yes, go ahead.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. A lot of the drugs, for example, that was going through into Lebanon and other parts of the place was being moved by Al-Nusra Front.
Mm-hmm.
That the U.S. Came out of and merged part of Al-Qaeda and then ISIS. The U.S. supported these groups when the United States knew that these groups were involved in drug trafficking and their terrorist outfit. So we see the double standards, the hypocrisy of the U.S. When the U.S. speaks about fighting the drug cartels, and we know that this is a pretext. This has nothing to do with fighting drugs, the war against drugs. This is about regime change.
Absolutely.
And the peoples of the Caribbean need to understand that a war against Venezuela is going to it's going to consume all of us in this region. This is not just about Venezuela. It's going to affect Guyana. It's going to affect Trinidad and all the countries.
So there's no neutrality, as some are suggesting.
No neutrality. No neutrality. You're either hot or you're cold.
Correct.
There's no place here for lukewarm. You're either hot or you're cold. You're either in the camp of truth or you're in the camp of falsehood.
Correct. Not only that, Venezuela is on our coastline, right? And it's our neighbor. So if somebody comes to your neighborhood and they attack one of your neighbors, you're going to be involved. It could be you next. So that is why we have to speak out and we have to get ourselves involved.
Yes, and it's interesting. These people sit down, these devils sit down and they plan in such a way and they use signs, symbols, everything is important to them. It's interesting that the month of October is the month that Maurice Bishop was assassinated.
Correct. I made that
this is the same month that they approach.
Yes. Yes.
And people, we have a way of reading this type of thing. It's not coincidence or just, this is what you're dealing with.
Nothing happens by happenstance.
That's right.
Yes.
That's
nothing.
right.
Yes.
And I've listened to protesters, demonstrators in
Grenada.
And they're saying we need to take a stand. We must stand up. This is not if you have visas, to hell with the visas. We cannot allow CARICOM with one voice. Need to send a clear-cut message. Now, take, for example, Guyana. Guyana is parroting the narrative that, oh, yes, while we want the Caribbean a zone of peace, we understand the whole thing about the war against drugs and all of that. Guyana has bought into, the Guyana government has bought into the lie, the false narrative of the Trump regime that they are going to protect us against Venezuela. We have to make sure if we go down this path and allow our country to be used as a springboard against Venezuela, history is going to judge this administration in a very harsh way. I have said this. You don't know I mean, you know, if you, brother, let me put it this way. If anyone had gone to Malcolm X when he was a drug runner and a pimp and said, Malcolm, one day you will become one of the greatest black leaders, he would have chased you from in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
look where Malcolm arrived.
Mm-hmm.
Today, I am saying, and people might say, but oh, what is Perreira talking about your organizations while you're not a powerful player? But dynamics do change and the tables
Turn.
of course.
I just want to say though that Malcolm X,
We are putting the government on notice.
Yes.
On notice.
Yes. Yeah, I was just saying that Malcolm X's mother was from Grenada, and she
That's
had
right.
planted the seeds in him. I understand that she used to even get the newspaper from Grenada. She read to him, so the seeds had already been planted in his heart.
That's right.
You know, so as the Bible says, that grow up a child in the way he or she should grow, and when
That's
he's
right.
old,
And his
they will
father was
not
a
depart.
Garveyite.
Correct. And
That's
his
right.
father was a Garveyite. So he had those seeds planted in him.
Seeds, yeah.
Now, what strategic interests does the U.S. have in Venezuela and the wider Caribbean? People tend to wonder, oh, it's only Venezuela, but do you think the United States also has strategic interests in the wider Caribbean?
Well, of course, the United States, if you go back, there was a U.S. Senator by the name of Albert Beveridge.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, he became infamous or famous, whichever one, for saying that he said, quote, we the Anglo-Saxon peoples have this right to civilize the non-white, the non-Anglo-Saxon peoples in this area. So the U.S. has never seen the Caribbean as, even when we gain this formal independence, you know, we refer to this as flag and anthem independence. The U.S. has never really seen the Caribbean. They've never taken our independence seriously.
Mm-hmm.
They've always seen us as part of their backyard.
Yes.
And with that contempt, regardless of whether it's Democrats or Republicans, whether it's the friendly face of fascism or the naked face of fascism, they believe that they can dictate us, tell us what to do. And when you do not go along with that, they will put pressure on you. They did it to Michael Manley, they did it to Forbes Burnham, they did it to Errol Barrow. The U.S. want puppet client regimes in the Caribbean, like the one in Jamaica, like the one in Guyana, and the one at present in Trinidad. In South America, we have seen the U.S. has a history of working with death squads and military elements that had connections since back before the Second War with Nazi Germany, Pinochet and others. And the U.S. have used those groups to overthrow, we know the history, regimes that disagreed with United States policy and were pursuing a different path. They did it to Juan Domingo Perón in Argentina, Goulart in Brazil. They did it to Arbenz. They have a history of it. Good. They did it to, we saw it to Maurice Bishop. They did it, destabilize the Sandinistas and all of that. So the United States, it is crystal clear. For years, the United States supported, the U.S. always supported the governments of Venezuela. Were always close to the United States, whether they were the Social Democratic Party of Andres Perez, Democratic Action, or the so-called Christian Democrats, COPEI.
And Salvador Allende of Chile.
And what they did to Salvador Allende, Chile. You know?
I just want to also make it very plain here, Mr. Perreira, that the difference between now and then was that the CIA was sort of covert and it was not so much overtly in your face. Now, the New York Times reported yesterday that they're reporting that the CIA is going to be involved in a strike
said that
openly against Venezuela because
that's a naked fascism.
Correct.
That's a
but
naked
the
fascism.
Difference between then and now is that you'd hear that it's covert,
but
now it's
overt now. Yes. Well, exactly. So the U.S. always speak about threat to U.S. protecting their national interests and their security.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with your geographical location. Only 2 days ago, I was re-examining the role of the British and the CIA when they overthrew the Sukarno government in Indonesia, the role played by the British,
Mm-hmm.
when more than 800,000 communists were slaughtered.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so look how far away Indonesia is. So
Yeah.
how does Indonesia is a threat to U.S. interests?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because the United States sees itself, the U.S. is the empire. The U.S. is the global policeman.
Yes.
And
No,
they believe that, yes, that they can intervene any part of the world
where
because
they
it's
want
their
to.
own so-called backyard.
Right. Now, can you see any direct effects of this impending war on nations like Trinidad, Jamaica, Guyana, Grenada, and all the other neighboring countries that are, Venezuela's, close to Venezuela? Do you see any direct effect? Well, already we have seen where 2 fishermen from Trinidad
Yeah.
have died. So that we're seeing it already. And I'm wondering if Kamala Person Caesar's term in office is going to last. Just like Bruce Golding, I am predicting, just like Bruce Golding, she might have to, the citizens of Trinidad might call for her deposition. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I don't think she's going to last. But a war against, if they attack Venezuela, it's definitely going to spill over and affect Guyana and Trinidad
Mm-hmm.
and other countries.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, anything is possible
Mm-hmm.
because apart from, I do not believe that it's going to be a walk in the park for the United States
Mm-hmm.
because I think Colombia, they have armed groups in Colombia. You have what is called the National Liberation Army, a guerrilla organization that has not handed over its arms, but it gives some sort of critical support to President Petro's government. And I think I think there are other forces that are going to join. I think the Venezuelan, they're going to join with the Venezuelan. They're going to join the fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Trump will not be able. The United States cannot occupy Venezuela with 10,000 troops. Venezuela is a big country.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's possible. There's going to be there's going to be the war. You'll have to commit. You can bomb and bomb, but at the end of the day, you have to commit ground troops to take control.
But has the CIA paid off Venezuelans? Well, Venezuelan traitors. We have traitors in our countries.
Yes, well, you have that.
Right.
You have that, as we've just seen in Gaza, and Hamas was able to identify them and dealt with them. But I don't know. I believe that the Venezuelans, I think that the Venezuelans have friends, they have allies who would be helping them with their intelligence.
It's interesting that you said Colombia because one of the fishermen that died, the Trinidadian fisherman, is alleged to have gone to Colombia. And he spent a long time. His family members didn't know what he was doing there in Colombia. Then he came back to Venezuela and was now back on his way to Trinidad when the boat was struck and he was killed. Yeah. Do you think perhaps maybe he was a part of that training? We don't know. I'm just making some
I don't know
speculations
because
here.
the U.S. is just killing. The U.S., the U.S., I think you would have believed that the United States would seize these boats,
right,
capture the crew,
right,
and show us the evidence, but they're not doing that.
Well,
all I'm saying,
Trump is saying that the reason why he's not doing that is because every time they do that, they go back and it's never, the drug trafficking never ceases. So he's saying that if you strike them, then you'll end it. That's what he thinks. If you kill them,
you can capture them, take them, and put them in the jail. You're taking so-called, you're saying that the migrant people who have entered your country illegally, you're dumping them in Africa, in African countries. And so, if you capture these people, you're capable of doing it, but you're not doing that. And we know that this is nonsense.
Well, Trump
You
is a
know?
businessman too. You must understand if you intercept them, let's say you take them to the United States or wherever,
Yeah,
and they have to go before court. All of that is money, and the state has to pay for that. Prison again, the state has to pay for that. He is thinking in terms
yeah,
of his commercial interest, and he doesn't
yeah.
care.
Well,
You know.
Trump sees the world. Trump sees it in terms of you listen to this, the deal, a deal,
Yes, the art of the
and
deal.
real estate,
Mm-hmm.
and real estate.
Absolutely. That's how he
Yeah.
sees
In
it.
fact, one of his supporters actually said
Mm-hmm.
that that homeless people should be given little injections.
Mm-hmm.
That is what he said.
Yes.
And the Caribbean people need to remember that Trump, how he described our countries as SHIT, poor
Yes.
countries.
Yes. Well,
Describe our countries as that.
yes. Yes.
And this is the man Caribbean people need to remember. He
Yes.
said, he said slavery was a good thing.
Right.
We
Right.
were taught skills and given knowledge that we didn't possess before we arrived.
Mm-hmm.
This shows you how ignorant this man is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's absolutely ignorant. He knows nothing about the history of Africa and African civilization.
Mm-hmm.
This is what he said. He said slavery was a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
We were taught skills and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And, how can such a person and his government, his regime, be a friend of Caribbean people? This is about trampling on the sovereignty, not only of Venezuela, but of Guyana, Grenada, Trinidad, and every country. It is absolute total disregard for us as sovereign nation states.
Do you think that the United States, well, we don't have any evidence, but we're just making some allegations here, might have contributed financially to Kamala Prasad-Vicesa's campaign? Because off the bat, she was just, pro-Trump. Everything Trump is doing, she's supporting. She wants all drug traffickers to die violently, and she's making these outlandish statements. Do you think that she was put into office by the US?
That's a good question. I'll tell you something. This is how I'll reply to that. The day after Trump won the elections, a huge billboard was put up in Georgetown at a very busy intersection, welcoming President Trump. And people wanted to know who were responsible for putting up that huge billboard. Well, it had to be the elements in the ruling, in the present regime,
Mm-hmm.
put that up.
Mm-hmm.
And I raised this issue before with you, brother. There is an element, there is a Hindu, there's an Indian ethnic supremacist group in the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
They're in Trinidad and they have connections. They live they're in the diaspora, and they're one or two of them in Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
And you have them in Trinidad.
Mm-hmm.
They have always sided. They've welcomed Trump, and they are sided with the Trump administration.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to one Mirage,
Mm-hmm.
who is Trinidad's ambassador to CARICOM.
Yes.
And this guy was absolutely vulgar and pathetic. He was talking, he ignored what was happening in Gaza, he ignored what is happening, and said, look, I'd rather America any day than to live in America. This guy. Then we have those who are advocating for Guyana to become a state of America.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what I have observed, what I've identified, is an Indian ethnic supremacist group
Mm-hmm.
that are basically, I'm not divisive, Hindus.
Yes, I understand.
Hindus.
Yes.
Hindus. You saw the story with Vivek Ramaswamy
Mm-hmm.
in
United States.
United States.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to understand the Indian the Indian sunwheel, the swastika, and how Hitler used it, and the origins and the basis of I don't want to get into that here, but that's another. But
yes,
but you can see how white supremacy is linked to this racist caste
Yes.
system of the Hindu tradition. It's there.
So I think that
It's
you have
there.
answered the question indirectly, that it might not
So
be the
I
US.
have no doubts that her government received, in one way, might have received assistance from
That coalition,
agencies.
from that
Yes.
coalition. Yeah, from
Yeah,
that coalition.
could be the
Mhm.
International Republican Institute.
Right.
Could be some, yeah.
Right. Or some of these Indian people in the United States, Trinidadians, and they're wealthy people. So
Yeah.
they would be able
And they're
to
very
send.
pro-Trump.
Correct.
They're very pro-Trump.
they'll be able to channel money to her to have aided and abetted in her
Yeah. And
campaign.
just before you go on, you remember when Trump, in his first term in office, Modi went to the United States,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a huge rally. Howdy, welcome Modi.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and a lot of the supporters of the BJP turned out with Trump's MAGA base supporters to that rally.
Right. Right. Right.
You remember that? You
I
can
remember.
recall that.
I remember.
Yeah. So it is not, you know, I'm listening, I'm seeing that I'm looking at this group that is backing Trump in the region.
I think you need to write an article. Have you yet written an article on that?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
movement. Okay.
Yeah.
And please send it to me so I can attach it to in the description for the viewers to read.
Yeah.
Now, what impact could a strike have on the Caribbean's energy, trade, and economic stability? And I say energy because I read earlier on that the United States actually sent Marines to Guyana to protect the oil reserves, because because of what is happening in Venezuela and maybe China wanting to come and whatever. Did they send Marines or military to protect the oil fields of Guyana?
This is first of all, this, as we pointed out some time ago, this is not only about Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
This is about against China in the region.
Mm-hmm.
Venezuela has strong trade and economic ties and relations with China.
Mm-hmm.
We know this, as well as with Russia and Iran.
Right.
We did, in the Organization for the Victory of the People, we brought out a flyer saying no US bases in Guyana. Many moons ago, we picked up as early as 2007 that there were plans to establish a US base in Guyana. Early as 2007. Anyhow, we don't know what is happening. Of course, if the CIA can have their assets in Venezuela, then certainly they're in Guyana. As we pointed out, we believe our countries are awash. Many of them are here. Many are here. And maybe Guyana is a huge country, my brother.
Yes.
There are parts of Guyana you can go and hide out for 2 years and no one will find you.
Yes, yes.
So we don't know where they have these people. But I think of course, as I said earlier, the Venezuelans have friends. They have allies who have the necessary equipment, the surveillance, the satellites to give them the intelligence that they need. But of course, a war is going to damage facilities, major energy facilities in Venezuela. And you know that Venezuela has helped Caribbean countries with the Petrocaribe and other assistance. They've helped Cuba and so on.
Could Venezuela, in retaliation, want to blow up energy facilities in Guyana and Trinidad?
Well, why they would do that? I mean, look, you remember when the United States attacked Iraq? Iraq started burning the oil fields.
Right.
So why you think the Venezuelans will not do that? Venezuela will do it. They create huge, and when you burn the oil fields, what is released into the air, it creates problems,
health
aircraft
problems.
flying and all of that. And they follow the environmental catastrophe. But the thing is this, even if the Americans invade, they will not be able to hold Venezuela. There's going to be a spillover, whether refugees coming into our country or what.
Very good.
And why you will have to be a fool to believe that Venezuela will just allow the United States to attack them. Guyana is an outpost for this US of US imperialism. and Trinidad, and why you believe that they would not attack us?
Very well said, Mr. Perreira, because, you know, people, the Trinidadians are saying that if there's a war, it means that crime and violence will be reduced in their country. But I think that there will be more crime during the
Definitely.
war, if there's a war, because
Definitely.
many of the criminals will be coming over into Trinidad, into Guyana, and all throughout the Caribbean and creating chaos and mayhem.
Definitely. And this is not just about Venezuela. You know, this is also about Cuba. I read something yesterday where the United States has accused Cuba of sending between 1,500 to 5,000 troops to Ukraine to help Russia.
Didn't
And
know
the
that.
Cubans, of course, they're
Yes.
saying that. So you see all of these lies.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that Cuba has troops now helping Russia in the Ukraine,
mm-hmm.
right?
As a pretext to come to war
That's
with
right.
them. To war
So
with
after
them. Yes.
Venezuela, what next? Cuba, then Nicaragua.
Yeah.
This is the pattern.
Yes.
And we have to, we must, as I said, the governments of CARICOM are not strong. As we know, they cannot stop the US, but the people can.
Yes.
People in the streets in their hundreds of thousands will send a message to the lunatic in the White House. And by I use this term, the lunatic, I just want to say this to you, brother. There is a Guyanese political commentator who is from that same group I identified earlier.
Yes.
And he keeps referring to every article. He keeps referring to President Maduro as Mad Maduro. But he never says anything about Trump. We can't hear about Mad Trump.
Yeah, he was here. Yeah.
We can't hear about Mad Trump.
Yeah.
So he speaks about Mad Trump.
Mad
not
Maduro.
Mad Trump, Mad Maduro. Well, I'm talking about Maduro the lunatic.
Yeah.
Not Maduro the lunatic, sorry. He speaks about Mad Maduro. Well, I'm speaking about Trump the lunatic.
And for those people who don't understand that Maduro doesn't want any war, recently he sent a letter to Washington to see if he could have sat down with Donald Trump to have ironed out these issues that he's alleging,
Yes.
you know, that Venezuela is committing, and he himself. And Trump ignored the letter. So this is to show you that Trump wants war. He doesn't want peace. War.
And you know what's interesting, brother? Earlier this week, 3 B-52 bombers flew right up to Venezuela, the border of Venezuela. And I don't know if you've noticed that the U.S. Admiral, who's overseeing the operations in the region,
was fired.
He has stepped down. This is an African American. He has stepped down. And he has held this position for less than a year. So the White House is sending out one message, but we know that this admiral, people are questioning things.
Right.
People are questioning things. So he stepped down. Or we should say he was probably removed.
I would think so. That's what they mean.
He was removed.
That's what they mean, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Perreira, I think that we're coming down to an end. What should Caribbean governments do immediately to prepare or respond for what is ahead?
Well, I think it's not too late. The CARICOM countries need to convene a very early meeting and to make their voices heard, to send a clear message that one for all for one. You cannot use, as Prime Minister Brown of Antigua and Barbuda said, no US, you will not be allowed here. And we need all of us, in Vincent, every one of us. We know that Guyana, we know where Guyana and Trinidad is, but there are more voices than just Guyana and Trinidad. And we need all the parties that hold state power that are in office, as well as all the progressive forces. Right now, we need, this is the fundamental contradiction, is between protecting our sovereignty against the empire. So whether we disagree with Mia Motley or not, or disagree with the PNM,
correct.
all of us all the parties and organizations need to bring our supporters and the people into the streets and send a clear message to the lunatic in the White House and his administration that the Caribbean must remain a zone of peace and that we're in nobody's backyard. That we're in nobody's backyard. And we have to do it now.
And the legal experts.
Tomorrow will be too late, as the great Fidel Castro said. Tomorrow will be too late because this is going to consume all of us.
Correct.
As Martin Carter, the great Caribbean and Guyanese poet said, all are involved and all are consumed.
Yes. And the legal experts also need to have their voices heard. We're not hearing much coming from these legal scholars and experts in terms of international law and U.S. breaking thereof. What do you think?
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. I mean, gone are the days when we had the people like the Bobby Clarks and so. What international law? Law can only be meaningful and relevant if it can be enforced.
Absolutely.
And no one cannot, who can make the United States enforce or go along with any rulings? You've seen what happened in the UN security. Every time Israel, 185 countries voted for the illegal, inhumane, and criminal blockade against Cuba to be lifted. 187, and only 2 countries voted against in the General Assembly. The United States and the racist apartheid genocidal state of Israel. They were the only 2 that voted against, and Moldova abstained. And we talk about democracy, rule of law, but there is no rule of law.
There's none.
There is no rule of law. The Western nations have never, the Western powers, the Western colonial powers have never subscribed to the concept of rule of law. Rule of law is applicable to us in the global South.
But hold them accountable.
World, but it's not applicable to them.
Hold them accountable. That was what was done under slavery. Slavery, particularly in the United States, it was the Constitution, which they've never regarded during slavery, but the anti-slavery about the abolitionists. That is what they kept at the forefront throughout until they had to end the system.
All the time, right down to Chip.
Correct.
But you know the founding fathers at the time when they were speaking about all human men,
they had slaves.
Right.
Yes.
They were slaveholders.
Yes.
Thomas Jefferson.
Yes.
Washington during the war for independence with Britain. There was a shortage of molasses.
Yes.
And he, George Washington, who they said never told a lie, when he cut down the cherry tree and his father said, who did it? He said, I, father, because George Washington never told a lie.
But if the citizens...
He's an exceptionable human being. So the white race is exceptionable. They don't lie, only non-white people lie.
Yes, but citizens, if the citizens had held them accountable, they would have had to stop it. And right now, we, the citizens, have to hold our politicians accountable for them to make the move to have us remain as a zone of peace and not a zone of war.
That's right.
And I think we can end here, Mr. Perreira. Wonderful discussion, and we are going to continue next week in another series.
Anytime, my brother.
What a wonderful discussion.
Good work.
Same here.
All the time.
And we look forward to seeing you again on another discussion.
Anytime.
Bye-bye, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, my brother.
Thank you so much. All the best to you, sir. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for liking and for sharing and subscribing. Make sure that you like, you share, and you subscribe. Now, I had to redo this interview because of you. I did it for you. Mr. Perreira came back because we had a brief interruption. Okay, so make sure that you watch it, you like it, and you share it with as many people so that the algorithm will be forced to dispatch the videos to hundreds and thousands of people. Thank you so much. See you in another one. Ciao.